And good morning, everyone, and welcome to the live morning show presented by Don Bullock Chevrolet. We are hitting the ground running today. That's a term that my guest is very familiar with over the last few weeks. We're hitting the ground running straight into our guest. Our current sheriff, Mr. Keith Stone, is with us. Sheriff, glad to have you.
Glad to be here. Thank y'all for the opportunity. Thank WIG. This is very delighting to be here, and it's a good information session for our people. So
absolutely. Well, this is a very exciting time, and you're involved in a race right now that has been talked about a lot, and I've said for months here on this show that I think is going to be a very interesting race to follow, one that people are very excited and passionate about. So we're going to give you the opportunity to talk to us for the next segment here. But as we typically, I can't believe how dark it still is. I mean, we got to get some sunlight going on through these windows here. 7 o'clock, and it's still pitch black dark, but it is rainy if you hadn't stepped outside. But Sheriff Stone, I want to give you the opportunity, as I do with pretty much all the guests, to just do a basic introduction. Tell us about yourself, who you are, just all that good stuff for those that may not know you. Just
Right.
Introduce yourself.
I'm Keith Stone. I came here in 1987 with the North Carolina Highway Patrol. Prior to that, I was with Robeson County Sheriff's Office. I worked 3 years in the jail there. Then I was promoted to deputy, worked there a short time, and then went with the North Carolina Highway Patrol. I went through the ranks of sergeant, first sergeant, and lieutenant, and retired as a captain, unit commander over the training program with the North Carolina Highway Patrol. And I have my master's degree in business. I have an undergraduate degree in law enforcement, criminal justice, a AA degree, which is an associate's degree in police science. I've attended the leadership schools of the FBI. Homeland Security has a year program, executive leadership program. I've attended that, and I've also went to Southern Police Institute and attended that in Louisville, Kentucky, a 13-week leadership program. So I've stayed busy with training and law enforcement ever since I was 18 years old.
How important, you hear people in different jobs, different avenues of things talk about drawing from their educational experience and things like that. How important has that been for you in the experiences that you've had to draw back on that experience, that all of that? How have you seen that be such an important for you?
Well, in the office of sheriff is very important. We've had $1.3 million in grants since 2021 that we've received our office. That's unheard of.
Wow.
And that takes the business aspect of how are we going to run this operation like a business. A lot of times in public sector, they don't worry about the dollar, but we do. Then on the other side of it, with the law enforcement, the way that we're conducting business now is totally evolved the criminal element from the days of just riding around and somebody call you. I mean, you got technology here today. You have the criminal element that's all over everywhere.
Right.
And they're directed. They know what to do. These gangs are organized, so law enforcement has to be organized.
Absolutely. All right. Do you feel like maybe and I know you get out and talk to a lot of people, do you feel like sometimes people are surprised at how many elements there are? Like a lot of times people say, oh, you just do this and this, but then when you get into those deep discussions, people are like, wow, there is a lot to this. Do you feel like sometimes that surprises people when they realize how much you're actually doing?
It is. I teach a carry conceal class, and I teach people about guns. I ask them often, how do you think all these guns are getting in the hands of criminals? Well, a lot of them are purchased through straw purchases, but the majority of them come from unlocked cars. And these unlocked cars is organizations of criminal activity and gangs oftentimes that are just going on tapping on doors to see if the door's unlocked, going through the car. They're not like they were in the 70s, 80s, and 2000 of stealing your radio out. They're going through, not messing with anything, just looking for guns.
Wow. Well, let's take you've been in this position for 8 years now, served us very faithfully and well. I always like to ask people that, running for political office and things like you'd say, take us back to that moment for you. What was it? Did you just wake up one morning and decide this is something that I want to do? Was it a series of events? Was it the current state of affairs? Take us back to when you first started. What was that moment for Keith Stone where he's like, I want to run, I want to be sheriff?
It's easy to say that for me. I didn't wake up in the last 6 months and say, you know, I'm going to be sheriff. In 1972, and that might scare a lot of people, my dad was in Robeson County, served many years as a sheriff. Me and my brother were riding with him. We were both really babies. I was in kindergarten or in first grade, and he stopped a car for liquor. He had been working a case, and the man was hauling liquor out of South Carolina. He let me turn the blue light on in 1971. I can still remember he drove a blue Plymouth Grand Fury.
How about
and,
that?
Had the little dash light. They let me turn it on, and
How
from
about
that time, I've had the passion of law enforcement.
That was it.
My brother did too. He ended up retiring from the Marshal Service. He's chief
That's
ABC officer now in Mecklenburg County. So he got indoctrinated us at a very young age. I would go with him to liquor steals, drug bust, murders, everything.
Wow.
And,
Wow.
You know, I got into it at a young age, and I have a passion to serve.
That's awesome, and that is very apparent in watching you out in the community and then your 8 years so far. Now, when you ran, particularly in the beginning, but even last time for re-election, you ran on drugs, gangs, crime, guns. You promised to handle these issues. You promised to be very, very proactive. Take us through some of these issues. What have you done? What are you proud of? Because, you know, this is, we talked coming off on air, crime is an evolving, you know, you have to make changes, you have to adapt. Take us through those issues and kind of highlight some of the things that you're most proud of.
You know, the most I'm proud of is to train. And I had Major Misty Strickland, was talking to her yesterday, and she says, you know, one of the milestones that we've achieved here is when she was with the office that they had no training outside of the county unless you went to very limited training, unless they went to Wilson. Today, I send my guys all over the United States to get the best training. My drug officers were in New York during the Christmas holidays last year, working on the ground with New York Police Department and DEA,
Wow.
seeing the best methods of law enforcement. You know, I send our guys down to the border, looking at this drug trends of fentanyl and things, of how it's getting in here. It makes a demonstrated difference. I'm so proud that in 2 years we achieved the highest certification you can get as far as professionalism in law enforcement, and that's the CALEA certification.
Okay.
Rocky Mount has been after this for over 12 years and have not achieved it yet.
Wow.
We did it in 2 years.
Wow.
That says that your polished procedures, your community relations, being accessible to the community and doing the right things at the right times is a model of what we do. We're only one of 10 sheriff's offices in the state of North Carolina that's CALEA certified.
Wow.
I'm so proud
That's
of that.
amazing. Congratulations.
I'm also, and I can go on and on. I'm so proud of the fact that, you know, we've got over a 70% solvability rate of crimes. That's way more than the national average in our criminal sessions over here and our criminal law enforcement, where we're investigating cases. Criminal investigations is not near that high anywhere in the United States, and we're there.
Yeah.
I mean, I am so proud of the girls and the guys that are out there doing it every day.
I would say that as a sheriff, that has got to be one of the more rewarding moments for you to watch these individuals, these guys and gals come in, get the training, feel successful, and be able to go out and apply. I mean, I would think that would be one of the most rewarding things that you are able to accomplish and be a part of, just seeing people get excited and learn and grow and be able to apply the things they've been taught.
You know, one of the cases, we had a criminal case, a murder case, about 1.5 years ago, and my detective comes back and was so excited over a fingerprint.
Wow.
I mean, because of the training that he has received.
Exactly.
That he's
Exactly.
and we go on and make cases with it. I'm out there, I see what the guys do. I send them down to the border to look at the interdiction methods, and when regular patrol officers text me at 2 o'clock in the morning, Sheriff, look what I've got. It makes me proud to know that they're proud to get out here to serve, because that fentanyl, that heroin, that cocaine that's coming in here that they stop, is stopping it before it gets in some families' hands.
Exactly.
You know, everybody, I've heard the story, well, y'all spend a lot of time on the interstate. Every bit of the drugs that come into your community is coming down that interstate. No cocaine is dropped in here, no heroin, no fentanyl. It's coming in here through a motor vehicle. That is the most accessible time for law enforcement to stop it. It's difficult after it gets into your teenager's hand, or your wife, or your husband, or your grandmother or grandfather. That's what's difficult. It's killing people every day.
Yeah.
We take a serious approach to this.
Yes, you do. Absolutely. There's been, the whole political thing is fun, I'm sure, and maybe not, because I know you want to be focused on your job. But and one of the things that I've heard, the scuttlebutt here and there, is there's been some criticism of how much you go out into the field. Like the sheriff is supposed to be an indoor desk job per se, whatever. How would you respond to that? Because to me, watching what you have accomplished and what is quite inspiring, to be honest, to see someone that is like, I'm not going to ask somebody that works for me to do something that I'm not willing to do. To me, that would be impressive. You've been kind of criticized for that a little bit. Address that.
It's real simple. When I ran the first time, a candidate was running against Rachel Joyner, and in a forum he stood up and said, I promised to be in the office 8 to 5. And I had to talk after that, and I promised that I would not be in the office 8 to 5.
No.
I've took pride in being the accessible sheriff.
Right.
252-885-6161's been my phone number since cell phones come about.
Wow.
I ask citizens to have that. If you need me, you can make contact with me.
Wow.
I have made a lot of high-profile cases, and it's the simple fact is I'm not the sheriff only 8 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
I am the sheriff 24/7.
Right.
And if I'm going down the road and I see criminal activity, as I did with the 25 bricks or the one of the most wanted out of Baltimore, Maryland, I'm going to act on that.
Mm-hmm.
One reason that a lot of people don't do it is a lot of times sheriffs are not law enforcement officers when they come in. They come from somewhere else. And they're probably a little intimidated of turning a blue light on because they don't know what to do.
Okay.
I'm not intimidated by that. I was a drill instructor on the Highway Patrol, and as a young drill instructor, I had a senior drill instructor to tell me one time, he says, these guys will never respect you running a basic school if you can't do what they do. So you better be running in front of the pack. You better be able to do as many push-ups and probably a few more than the next man.
Right.
I don't ask my men and women to do anything that I don't do. If it's a criminal investigation, I'll jump in and help it. If it's an interdiction at 2 o'clock in the morning by myself, I'll go out and do it.
Absolutely.
If it's a patrol, if it's a domestic, I'm going to be out with my men and women. I just think that any leader that is going to be effective, first, it's called managing by being around. Anybody that knows management knows you better be familiar with what your people's doing.
Yeah.
Because if you're not, you might get embarrassed. So I like to be out there.
Absolutely. And I would say in today's world of police, law enforcement, morale being down, what we've gone through nationwide recently, I would think that would be a very strong morale builder for those that work with you to be able to see something like that. I'm sure you probably have experiences of maybe someone that was dragging a little bit down, but to see you out there rolling up those sleeves probably boosts. I would think that was a huge morale builder in something that these guys and gals need.
Well, you look at area law enforcement, they got double digits, and I heard last week, and don't know how much, but one agency's got 40 openings. We're in the single digit of openings as far as we're doing something right.
Yeah, I agree.
Our guys have pride. If you see them out riding up and down the road, those cars are clean.
Right.
Those uniforms are pressed, and they're professional. And we stick to our core values of honor, compassion, and diligence. And it is a morale booster for me to walk into when it's shift change and look at these motivated, capable, trained officers.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk a little bit about your work with other agencies, federal, state agencies such as that. Why is that so important? What are some of the highlights? Because, people have to understand that this is more than just local things. You have to reach out. What have you done in the relation of the other agencies around you, but maybe particularly on the federal and state level as well?
One of my governor's highway safety cars goes to stop a car a few months ago for a headlight out. Well, during the conversation with the guy writing him a warning ticket, he finds out something's going on because the guy's highly trained in interdiction.
Right.
And the guy's wanted out of Los Angeles for first-degree murder, where he was a gang member, flies out and does a hit. We start looking for him, and the FBI says, well, in a couple of weeks, we're going to come down and we're going to do this, this, and this. And I respond to him, he's on the phone. I said, well, you don't know Nash County. We're going after him.
Right,
Well,
right.
4 or 5 days later, we call him and tell him, say he's in handcuffs and he's en route to the jail.
There you go.
It shows that you have to have not only community ties and county ties. If you remember the Lynn Keel case, when we pick up the phone and in 15 minutes, I'm talking to Arizona, and we have him in handcuffs. You know, you cannot stay contained in the county.
Right.
What I'm most proud of is I've heard my opponent talk about the 2002 model of law enforcement. That's gone. You can live in 2002, but the criminal element is not what it is today.
Right.
When I came in office, we didn't have any federal task forces. I'm proud to say that we have more people on DEA task force now than anybody in Eastern North Carolina. We have 3 members on the DEA task force. We have 1 member on the FBI task force. We have 1 on Homeland Security, and we have 1 on ATF. That's the major investigative agencies of the federal government. I have the ability to reach out and see what crime trends are in other places. Look at Memphis, Tennessee right now.
Right.
30% crime increase.
Yeah.
I see police departments riding around with their blue lights on to quell crime. No, the way you quell crime is you get the criminal out of the community.
One of the things that will go hand in hand with that, and it was an interesting comment. As you know, I had your opponent here yesterday making mention of less marked vehicles, less marked patrol cars, and yeah, it made me think. But I'd be interested. What is your response to that comment? You know, unmarked cars have their advantages. I know that to some degree it was saying, you know, feeling like there's more out there. People see there's more patrolling the areas, makes them feel a little safer. What is your response to that comment? Because that I had a lot of people, you know, well, what was your opinion of that when after speaking to, what's your comments on that?
You know, there's a place for both, but inconspicuous patrol catches criminals. As I've just said, I was in Baltimore. I spent 3 or 4 days there in Baltimore last year,
Right.
looking at the crime problems that they have there. I
Right.
look at these large cities. I look at the crime trends. I'm part of the alumni of the FBI National Academy and of Homeland Security. These programs of just conspicuous patrol does not work. You've got to have that element to actually catch the criminal, because today we have to do stakeouts in neighborhoods where there's cars being broke into, there's drugs, gangs. If they're not doing it right then because they see a patrol car, they're going to do it later that
Yeah.
afternoon. So
Yeah.
let's try to catch these people. We also got to talk about, I have more members on a task force now than ever before. He can't drive a marked billboard patrol car and be working for the FBI, the DEA, the ATF. You know, we're putting more federal cases in Raleigh now than ever before. And there's a reason. We're taking care of the gang gun problem
Right.
and the drug problem. You've got to be able to catch criminals instead of deter them, because you can deter him. As addicting as heroin and fentanyl is today, it's not, well, I saw a patrol car go by, so I'm not going to commit a crime. No, he's going to commit the crime.
Yeah.
But you need to catch him before he continues to do it.
Yeah, I appreciate your response to that. As you, Sheriff Keith Stone, my guest here during this segment of the Live Morning Show, as you have, as we mentioned in the beginning, hit the ground running, you've been at the polls like crazy over the last couple of weeks. What's the pulse of the people? Talk to us a little bit about that. What are you learning? What are you hearing? What are their questions, comments, concerns? What are they, you know, most concerned about, most appreciative of? Talk to us a little bit about your interaction with the folks at the polls.
You know, the interaction's been overwhelming. People are so appreciative of what we're doing. I'm standing at the polls, and I run on the Accessible Sheriff. So I talk to people all the time. They have my phone numbers. They call back and forth. But Nash County wants good law enforcement. They're getting good law enforcement. I think we've got a professional law enforcement agency. I'm proud of what the men and women do every day. You know, one of the things I'm so proud of right here at Wesleyan College, I just signed a memorandum with the college here where we're helping give grants to our law enforcement officers, encouraging them to get education.
Outstanding.
Education and training is paramount in today's law enforcement. Everybody was talking about while defund the police was going on.
Yeah.
We need officers that deconflict. You need officers that have good communication skills, good deconfliction skills, and that comes through education and training. I come from a training unit with the North Carolina Highway Patrol. I was one of the top trainers there. And I understand you've got to have education and training to be a law enforcement officer today. It's a profession.
Yep.
And to be a professional, you've got to be educated, you've got to be trained.
Absolutely. As you work the polls and as you get around and, politics is politics. I know, like I say, I'm sure you'd rather just be able to just do your job, as you say. But you have the opportunity now, you have an opponent, you have opposition. As you seek re-election, do you find yourself more so in the political realm of things, sticking to what you've accomplished, or how much of the political process do you have to look at the opponent and say, well, you got to look at what he's saying, what he's doing, compare it to, what is your biggest strategy? Just kind of accentuating what I'm doing, or how much do you have to look at the opponent and say, well, here's what I can do beyond that or better than that? How has that come into play for you? Because you have to set yourself apart.
Yeah, it does not come into play. I don't care what my opponent says, because I know what it takes to be a law enforcement officer. I know what it takes to be a good sheriff. I think the people of Nash County have seen the progress and the professionalism of our office. I never call my opponent's name. I don't pay that any attention. What I am proud of is this CALEA certification. I'm proud of what my men and women are doing every day. The next thing I want to seek is a certification for our jail. We can go back to the model of, the unmarked cars and things, the 2002 model.
Right.
Look at the jail in 2002. It was an open bay squad room. That's good for the military because they're disciplined people, but it's not good for criminals where it's just manifest criminal activity and these people just doing anything they want to, assaulting people. Detention officers couldn't handle them because there's 40, 50 people in a dorm and they're criminals.
Yeah.
We've got it worked out now where we're getting 101 lockdown cells and more in the future, where they're going to be 1 and 2 in a cell. You can control that.
Right.
The criminal element has evolved, and we've got to evolve with it.
Absolutely.
So no, anybody can talk about, well, what I'm going to do, but I can show you what we have done.
Right. As we conclude, and so glad time just flies when you're having a good time and having good discussion. I certainly appreciate everything that you have done and the work that you have put in during your 8 years here. This is your opportunity, Sheriff, to have a captive audience and to conclude our segment with about a 60-second asking for the vote of the people and whatever you would like to say in conclusion to our residents that are watching. This is your moment to ask for their vote.
I want to ask the people of Nash County to continue professional law enforcement with a vigilance against gun gangs and drugs, and a office that has honor, compassion, and diligence to serve the people. I want to ask each one of you to come to the polls, bring your people to the polls, and show your appreciation for what Nash County Sheriff's Office is doing. I want to urge you, as it is today, it's raining, take your time, put that seatbelt on, drive with care, but come to the polls. You've got to speak to make a difference. I appreciate working for the people, but I need the people to come out to the polls to allow me to keep doing that, and your vote does matter.
All right. Sheriff Keith Stone, an Nash County Sheriff, has been my guest. Sheriff, an honor to have you, and I appreciate you spending time with us, and I know you're eager to head out to those polls, grab the umbrella, and you'll see him, have the opportunity to come out and meet him. Appreciate everything that you and your people have done for us, and wish you the best in this campaign. You've been watching the Live Morning Show presented by Don Bullock Chevrolet. When we return, we will have our weekly agribusiness report with Mr. Parker Phillips, and then Lim and I will come back on after that and get the show rolling. He has a guest also in the 8 o'clock hour. So busy day here today on the Live Morning Show, brought to you by Don Bullock Chevrolet. Stay with us.